Good afternoon and welcome to Right from the Heart. I am your host, Deborah Johnson. Right from the Heart explores how handwritten communications can transform relationships and tell your story while preserving history at the same time. Happy belated Mother's Day. We didn't have a broadcast obviously yesterday, so I'm hoping that all the mothers out there had a wonderful day. I'm back from my happy place. Last week I was broadcasting live from the beach and it was wonderful. I'm still missing the sound of the ocean. I'm thinking about getting one of those little sound machines just so I can hear that sound. It's so beautiful. But happy belated Mother's Day to you if you're a mom. Hope you did something fun this weekend. Whatever you did this weekend, let me know how your Mother's Day was. Hey, Nancy Brockman, happy Mother's Day to you. Hoping everything was wonderful for you this weekend, that you did something fun and you were good to yourself. That's always a wonderful thing. You know, I had a delightful time, honestly. I was out in the country. You know, I'm loving this serene life. This is something that I'm craving these days. But it was just beautiful. Out in the country, I literally sat and watched a cardinal up from the tree onto this little sculpture, back onto the ground. It was absolutely beautiful. I had so much fun and just, enjoying watching the world go by, being with my children. But most of all, I ate food that I did not have to, I did not have to cook, and I didn't have to clean up the kitchen afterwards. That's priceless. If you know what days are like for me, it's priceless when you can just sit back, kick back, and allow somebody else to do the cooking. Now, if you know me for real, you know that my husband does a lot of the cooking. He is amazing in the cooking, in the kitchen. He's a chef, and I am delighted to be able to enjoy that. But I had a great time, and I hope you did too. But I'm so glad to be here today. It's a wonderful day. Today's show is going to be talking about written communication. And it's something that came to me yesterday as I was getting notes from friends, notes from moms, talked to a few moms, and a number of moms said, I heard from my kids, I got a text, didn't hear their voice, didn't get to see them, but they sent me a text. They sent me a post on Facebook. They sent me a post on Instagram, something like that, they told me. And for some people, their children live out of town. And for that mom or that person whose children are far away, the next best thing to being able to see their face, talk with them, having them right there, is getting a well handcrafted letter or note, like something in their own handwriting. Trust me, I know this. I'm a mom, and when my children take the time to just send a quick note, or when they hand me a card and inside they have that sweet note that personalizes their experience with me, it means the world to me. Not that I don't like gifts, but honestly, I would take that every day, hands down. I have a son who's a poet, and every now and then, when he's in the mood, he'll write a poem and hand it to me, and it just means the world. So today, we're going to just spend a moment talking about the benefits of sending and receiving handwritten correspondence. And then I'm going to share some tips with you on how to write a well-crafted letter or note. And whether you're writing a personal note that's to a friend or a personal note that's to a client, there is just something about a person seeing that you took the time to write to them, to put the stamp on it, to go to the post office, to send it out. It means the world to people. I know this because I talk to people a lot, and I get that response when I send out letters. There are people who freeze up when they need to give a speech or a presentation. But in the same way, there are people who freeze up when they attempt to get their thoughts down on paper. All of a sudden, they feel like they're taking a test, or all of a sudden, the words just fly out of their head. You're right, Patricia Lyles. It is personalized. It feels good to know it's just for me. It wasn't something somebody Xeroxed and sent to lots of people. It's just for you, and it means something. So I want you to just consider something. When you are writing a personal letter or note, it's like talking with that person. Only you're using your hands, a pen or a pencil, and a piece of paper. But you're talking to them. You don't have to overthink it. Whatever you would be saying, if this helps, you might want to put their picture there and talk to that picture. It sounds crazy or sounds hokey, but it really isn't. If you're that person that says, that's easy for you, Deborah. You write tons and tons of letters, but I start writing and I'm wondering if I'm doing it right. But if you were standing there talking to that person, would you be overthinking whether you're doing it right? Of course not. You would be putting pen to paper and just sending them a quick note. And you would be talking the way you would be writing the way that you actually talk. So you can take your time when it's just you. It's just you. Nobody is watching you. It's not an exam. And you can take your pen, you take a pen and pencil or paper or pen and paper and just craft a note. And if that's not enough encouragement, I want to give you some reasons why it's important and why people love to get your handwritten notes. Maybe you're not even sure what the benefit would be of someone actually getting them from you when you could actually just pick up the phone and tell them what you're going to tell them. I'm going to tell you why. Number one, they immediately feel connected to you when you write by hand. They feel the sentiment that you meant to convey even before they open the letter. Can I say that again? Even before they open the letter. Like they see your note in the mail. They see the envelope and immediately there's this warm feeling. Oh my gosh, somebody wrote me today. But it's not just somebody. They're saying, oh my God, I got a letter from Nancy today. Oh my goodness, it's been so long. And they're walking all the way back up to the house thinking about that. Patricia, they get your letter and they're going, oh my gosh, how long has it been? And they're just feeling good about it. I'm going to tell you this. In a 2017 survey, people responded that they had received less than 10 pieces of mail all year long. I can't even believe it. 10 pieces of personal correspondence is what they're saying all year long. And because I'm an avid writer, I get more than that in a month. Sometimes, now this doesn't happen often, I'm just going to be honest, but every now and then I've received 10 in a week. But that also means I've been writing a lot of letters, right? And sometimes my friends say, oh my gosh, Deborah, I had to finally pull out a sheet of paper and just write you something because you're so good at sending us letters. But it makes me feel so good just the same when I see their handwriting. Number two, there's this surprise of receiving an unexpected note. It really is a gift. And somehow, I just believe sometimes God knows what you need. And he will put it on someone's heart. And you could be having the worst possible day. Or you could have just gotten a bill from the IRS and you thought you had done it right. And then you realized you didn't do it right. But right in between all of that yucky correspondence, you look up and there is a personal note from a friend you haven't heard from in ages. Somehow it takes the edge off of anything else that was happening that day. Like, oh my gosh, this person took the time. There's actually this surprise that they wrote you. And then it's the suspense. For me, it's always the suspense. What are they writing about? What's going on? I can't wait. And let me tell you what I do. I have a ritual. I'm sure I've talked about it before, but it bears me repeating because it's my ritual and I love it. When I get a personal letter, it has to be like a horrible day for me to just sit in my car and read my letters. But sometimes I do that. When I'm having a bad day, I go right there and sit in my car and just savor every word. But most of the time, I hold on to it, even if because sometimes I'm driving past my mailbox, I get the mail, and then I go on my errands. But as soon as I get in the house, I put on my teapot, I bring out my favorite cup, I light a candle, I do all of this, and then I just sit there. And with my tea, with my candle, and just savor every word that's on that piece of paper. And it just makes me feel so good. So there's number three is another reason why people like going to the mailbox and finding a personal note. It's not a bill. It's not a bill. It's nothing I have to pay. It's nothing I have to do. I just get it and enjoy it. It's wonderful. Enough said about that, right? The other thing, number four, is that personal letters and notes are authentic. In a world where technology is cranking out paper faster than we can even process it or know what to do with it, it's so nice to actually see someone's handwriting, even with the scratch outs and the misspelled words. In fact, sometimes that makes it feel even more authentic. It's that person that put that little bitty thing in there and wrote the word that they forgot, or they scratch it out altogether and write it again. It just, you know, it's them and you're smiling as you're reading it. Digital messages come across kind of insincere sometimes, even though they're pristine. They're they're perfect. You know, somebody has read it and then written it and redone it and redone it. But the reality of it is it's impersonal. You know, some computer did it. You know, AI is doing it, but it's not like your friend or your mom or your brother or your sister or the coworker you worked with to send that out to you. And number five, the reason why it's so wonderful to receive them is that if it's handwritten and it comes from a business, they say if you're sitting here and you run a business and you're saying, Deborah, I do not have time to be writing out handwritten letters to my customers. But let me tell you this, if it's handwritten and it comes from a business, the statistic is a person is 99% more likely to open that letter than all that other mountain of business correspondence that comes in. There is just something about when you see somebody writing, even if you think, did somebody really write this? But you still open it because you think maybe it is a note just to me. It might be. So I don't know about you. I get so tired of junk mail. I'm so tired of junk mail. I don't know what to do. In fact, when I go to my mailbox and I'm walking back up my walk, I literally go right over to the trash can and just start dumping in the, I don't even want to bring it in the house anymore. But even when it's a sender, I don't know. But if it's handwritten, just maybe it might be somebody I know. I'll take the chance and I'll open it up. So I want you to just put in the chat, how do you feel when you see a handwritten note or letter in your box? I'd love to know. Like, how does that make you feel? You know, not only does the receiver of handwritten notes get benefits, but you as the writer also do. I'm going to give you 5 quick reasons why, when you write a handwritten note, you get a benefit. Number one, in this fast paced world, handwriting is a stress reliever. This is one of the reasons why I love to write. When I have just had a crazy day, it could be late. I could come in and it's been a long day, but there is something about me sitting down. I'll pull out a quick card and I'll just write something to someone. It calms my brain down. You know, a lot of my friends, you know, that I've grown up with don't live here. You know what? But let me tell you what, I can sit down and tell them about my crazy day and just somehow getting it out of my head and onto the paper and sharing it with them, even though they haven't gotten it yet. It just makes me feel better. It is a major stress reliever. Even when you're writing one of those crazy letters where you say to yourself after you've written it, this is kind of crazy. This is kind of dark. No, I don't want to send this. It still relieves the stress of having it all in your head. And then you can throw that away and write a more upbeat one. But it's wonderful to do it. You know what? You're right, Patricia. Our handwritten note really does let people know that, you know, they care and are really thinking about you. Lets you know that they care. It's a wonderful thing. Number two, it's an opportunity for you to get creative. So sometimes you can find beautiful stationery and you can send it because it just speaks to something. I pulled out this today because I couldn't wait. I've had this stationery since the fall easily, but it's stationery, if you can see it, with these little flip-flops on it. And I couldn't wait for flip-flop weather, just when it's going to get warm, just so I could send it out, because I know somebody's going to get it and smile and say, that's Deborah sending out the summer stationery. But it makes me feel good. Sometimes I put stickers on it in the margin. Sometimes I draw something. I'm not a great artist, but that probably really makes somebody's day or makes them laugh to see how bad of an artist I really am. Number three, handwritten letters provide you with the gift of time. What I mean by that is scientific research has shown that when our brains interact with actual handwriting, you just slow down. You naturally slow down. Your eyes become methodical. They take their time and go over each word. When you get a letter, and it's typewritten and it's not even personal, just a typewritten letter, your mind tends to just sweep across. It just sweeps fast. But you kind of redeem some time when you just take your time. You're not going to slip over words. You don't miss anything that's important. It's a wonderful thing when you get a letter. It just allows you to linger a little bit over it. Number four, handwritten notes actually have real monetary value. I want you to hear this. Real monetary value. Who knows, one day when you're famous, and who knows what you're going to be doing next week that the whole world's going to be talking about, and something that you write or have written will all of a sudden go up in value just because people know your name. But I'm going to tell you this, even without the monetary value, when a person who you care about and who cares about you gets your letter, it means the world. It is priceless. Now, according to Rare Book Monthly, on April 10th of 2018, the highest price ever paid for a letter at auction was achieved at Christie's in New York. So if there's any doubt about the growing interest in this more ephemeral kind of work of writing on paper, it is this. At over $6 million. Can you believe that? $6 million. Like 3 or 6 times the estimated range of letters before then. $6 million somebody paid for this letter. Now, the letter itself was something of a surprise at the auction. It was not from one of the world's great leaders like Lincoln or Churchill or Napoleon. It was not from one of the most famous scientists, Galileo or Kepler or Newton. It was not even very old. This letter was written 60 years ago. 60 years ago. And what happened was the writer died in the last decade. His partner and the recipients are still living and attended an auction. And while his name is well recognized in the scientific community, I had no idea who this person was. If you interview people who knew who Francis Crick is, most would probably respond with kind of blank stares. Does anybody here know who Francis Crick is? Francis Crick is the person who discovered that DNA cataloged the very distinct nature of who we are. So they're the person who figured out what this chain of DNA actually did. They discovered the whole nature of the molecule. So to put it bluntly, they discovered how physical characteristics and life itself is transmitted from one person to another person through DNA. And this letter that this person wrote, Francis Crick wrote, merited $6 million. That's enough to make you want to write letters just in case, right? And finally, letters are actual historical artifacts. So unlike text and emails, handwritten letters, just like that letter from Frick, have a type of meaning that you don't simply click delete, you're done with it, throw it away. When you get a letter, you tend to want to tuck it away. It's not real easy for somebody to just read a personal letter and throw it in the trash. Usually, even if it's not somebody that's real close to them, they tuck it away at least for a while before they decide whether they're going to keep it or not. So I would just like to know, just for grins and giggles, how many personal letters have you received so far this year? Just give me a figure if you have any idea. You can just guess, but just how many letters have you received this year? It'd be just fun to know. So wait a minute. Are you saying, Patricia, that you have not received any? Oh, Nancy says she's received 3. She's received 3. Okay. I'm just wondering. Lots of people don't get a lot of letters, but I know this. Oh, Patricia just got one last week. I love that. What I can tell you is the more you write, the more you're going to get. It's not a tit for tat, but I'm going to tell you this. When you start to cultivate a relationship with someone through letters, you might write them a couple of times and it may take them a minute to catch on, but all of a sudden they want to write back in kind. They might start calling you up first, but then after a while, they'll write you back in time. I'm going to leave you just 6 tips today on how you can get started with writing a letter or getting back into the practice of writing a letter. What I'm going to tell you is choose your recipient carefully. Consider why it is that you want to write this person. This is not the time you're going to spend this kind of time to just write anybody, because it's not going to be the same. You want it to be a reason why you're writing this person. So is it a friend, a family member? It might even be a pen pal. But think about, why am I writing this person today? Okay. Because you want to get them in mind. Remember I was talking about that picture sitting there? You want to get a picture of them in your mind, something that you know about them, consider what your relationship is. And you want to think about what is it that you want to share with them and what you hope to gain from the experience. I mean, it sounds kind of scientific, right? I don't want to make it sound like this is a class, but it really is. When I write letters, I have something in mind each time I reach out to a friend. I reach out to them and I think about, why am I writing this letter today? Sometimes it's to lift them up because they're sick. Sometimes it's to tell them something I've been dying to tell them, and now I finally have some time to tell them. Other times they've been through a really hard time and I want to make them feel better with that. It could be an apology letter. I missed their birthday. Oh my gosh, how did I miss the Zoom call that everybody was on but me? I write them a letter and let them know. So number one, pick it carefully, who you're writing to, and know what you're going to write about. After you do that, you want to set the tone. So start your letter with a warm greeting, right? Set the tone for the correspondence. If this is the letter that you're apologizing that you missed your good friend's birthday party, oh my goodness, how could you have put it on the calendar for next week when it was really last week? And then you realize it. And that person has come to every party, everything you ever invite them to. The tone starts something like this. I cannot believe I missed your birthday. I talked to you the other day, but that just wasn't enough. I just want you to know how much I missed being with you. You are my dear friend. You never miss my special things. I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there. You see the tone? It might be the tone where you want to make them laugh. And you might say things like girl and put like 6 L's at the end of girl and say, I couldn't wait to take 10 minutes to write this note to you. You are not going to believe who I just saw. You get it? You get the tone? When it's serious, real serious, your dear friend has lost their mom, their dad, their spouse. That letter starts way different. I don't even know where to begin this letter. My heart is just breaking for you. I wish I could be there. But since I cannot, not right now, I hope to come soon. I just wanted you to know I am thinking about you. I can't imagine what you're going through. You get it? You see how that whole tone changed? Even though they're not hearing you, they're hearing you. When they see your handwriting and they hear the tone of your letter, it speaks to their heart. So consider the relationship that you have with the recipient and what kind of tone will be most appropriate. So that same condolence letter to a person that you do business with, but you don't know them very well, it may say something like this. Please accept my sincere condolences on the loss of your wife. I pray that you are getting peace by having your family here at this time. I hope that if there's anything I can do for you, or whatever you have to say, but you see what you're saying, the tone is different. It's not like the dear friend where you really know what they're going through. It's I just want to let you know you're on my mind and I've sent up a prayer for you. I pray that you have peace in the coming days through this difficult time. Something that sets the tone that we're not close like this, but I still care that you had a loss. Does that make sense? So you just want to make sure that the tone is right for the person that you're writing to. The next thing is share your thoughts and feelings. That's what letters are all about. Share your thoughts. Use your letter as an opportunity to share how you feel about the recipient. Even if you've written them a million times, even if it's your best friend, it feels good, even when it's your best friend and you know they know already, to say, do you realize we have known each other for 4 decades? Oh my God, you're my bestest friend. You're the person that I can come to talk about anything. And today, I need to talk about one of those things. You see how that is? It draws the person in. The moment you say, we've known each other for 4 decades, that person is leaned in. They're probably sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's been 4 decades. Before you know it, they're remembering that first time that you guys met. They have a thought about you. You are making their day when you do that. The other thing is, letters are meant to evoke a conversation. So ask questions. Asking questions can help keep the conversation going. You're probably sitting there going, Deborah, but there's no conversation. I'm writing a letter. A letter is all about cultivating relationship, cultivating a conversation. It just means that the answer to the conversation is going to come in another letter. That makes sense? So instead of being on the phone and saying, girl, how's your day? You're asking, girl, how's your day been? How's your week's been? I've been thinking about you. Did you ever get the remodel done? How are your kids? Oh, wow. They should be graduating about now, right? You say that. So when they're writing you back and they're trying to figure out what to say, I do that for every one of my letters. I pull them out and I go, oh, I need to answer their question about the graduation. Oh my goodness, they're still asking about my trip to Europe. Let me write about that now. And it goes back and forth. Then I start asking them more questions. When are you going on a vacation? How's work? Did your boss ever retire? That kind of thing. You are right, Patricia. It can lead to the two of you planning time together. I love those kind of letters. I might catalog that and say, girl, it's been way too long. Okay, here are the dates that I'm available. I'm even willing to meet you halfway. We can figure the halfway point, that kind of thing. In the letter, they start thinking, oh my gosh, I can do a weekend, and they'll figure it out. Thanks for that, Patricia. It's so true. And then number 5, be authentic. Be authentic. Write in your own voice and be true to yourself. If you're not a funny person, don't try to tell jokes in your letter and then they fall flat. Or the person's going, who just stole my good friend? She don't write like this. This is not her. She has gotten her son to write this letter because she didn't have time. She probably did AI. Now AI probably did write this letter. Because you want to be authentic. You want them to know this is you. When you write, you know how people know it's me? It's because my letter started in April. Then I lost the paper. Then I found it in August. And I said, girl, you're not going to believe this. I just looked in my stationery drawer and your letter was started last April, but I'm going to finish this letter. I just wrote a letter like that last week. And I'm sure my friend is cracking up when they get it, but it's so me, right? So people know how that is. You know, it's always fun. You're right. You're right, Nancy. If you always have those fun, crazy events, people can't wait to get your letters because they want to know what fun thing has Nancy had, you know, this week or last week, or they can't wait. But they know it's you, Nancy. And then last but not least, be consistent. There is nothing sadder than getting this cool letter from a friend. You write them back. You think you're onto something, and they never write you back. And they say, girl, I was thinking about you this day, but I'm not writing no more. I'm not doing that later stuff. And you're like, what? I was just getting into this. Like, really? Come on. So start it. And trust me, you can write a little. It doesn't have to be War and Peace. I write those War and Peace letters sometimes. But when I can't write War and Peace, what I tell people is, this is going to come in pieces. This is part 1. And then it becomes fun. Then I tell them this is the rest of that story. And by the time I do the 3rd letter, it's the rest of the story. In the meantime, they're writing me letters, and it's just that give and take. But I'm going to tell you this. I have preserved relationships with people for decades through writing. My dear friend Cheryl, we have been writing, if I can remember correctly, yeah, it's got to be since the 1980s, because I met her in 1982. We've been writing since then. And she writes me on every holiday. I write her on every holiday. We could get on Facebook, and sometimes we do. And I show her the card I just got from her. But we have been writing since the 80s. And we haven't seen each other. And Cheryl, I know, will see this broadcast at some point, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've seen each other since the early 2000s. But we could see each other tomorrow, and I'm all caught up. I know what's going on with her grandbaby. I know what's going on with her daughter. She knows what's going on with me, and we don't have to take forever and a day. We just start where we left off. So that's what letter writing does for you. You start here writing, and even if it goes on for a year, when you pick up, you feel like you haven't lost time. It's a wonderful thing. So those are just six tips on how to get you started. I really hope this information was helpful to you. I hope that this week you will, if it's not pulling out sandal stationery, even if it's just a sheet of paper torn out of something that you have, and you write a quick note and say, you know what, I'm getting ready to get into this letter thing. And the first person I thought of was you. I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. Oh, you're very welcome, Nancy. I have so much fun crafting this stuff because you know how much I enjoy writing letters. I enjoy writing in my journal. I enjoy writing. And I really believe that writing is going to transform our entire world. I believe that. I believe we're going to become more genteel when we do that. You're very welcome, Patricia. I'm so grateful for you taking your time out today and you stopping in to hear about letter writing. Next week, and it's graduation time. I have written more checks and sent more cards during graduation. I'm going to write to you next week and talk to you next week about how do you craft a thank you note? How involved do they have to be? What does it constitute a really good thank you note? What goes in there? What would that person who took the time to send you a gift love to hear in return? I get more notes and correspondence from people at their utter dismay from their children, grandchildren, neighbors, friends about gifts that they have sent out, don't know if they were ever received, don't know if they liked them, and if they're off the mark. And so I'm going to talk about that next week. It'll be a short show, but it'll be impactful. I hope that you can join me for that next week. I hope that you'll have time to take a deep dive into this and write a quick letter this week or a long letter. But I just am so glad that you spent this time with me. And I look forward to next week at 5:00. And until then, just take some time, write something from the heart, even if it's on a little piece of paper and you slide it into somebody's hand from you for them to read later. Take some time and write from the heart. Thank you for joining me. Have a great, great, great week. Take care.